I know what you're thinking. Not another boring poker vlog by some dork trying to show me how good he is. And you'd be wrong, because that's not my goal here. Welcome into the first episode of Poorly Played Poker, where we're going to flip the industry on its head and we're going to discuss poor play in an effort to get better together. I'm your host, Chapadong, and I've been in the daily fantasy sports industry and I've been in the poker industry for quite a while now. You probably don't know who I am because I work behind the scenes as a coach to teach people how to play FanDuel and DraftKings better. And this is my attempt to come out into the poker world, which I love, and teach you maybe how to correct your own game as well. I'm not targeting the expert. I'm not targeting the wannabe pro. I'm targeting the guy who's struggling to beat his local 1, 2, and 2, 3 games. I believe that 80% of people don't beat those games, and I can help you fix that. I am a fundamentally sound poker player. I'm in the middle of a 200-hour challenge of my own that we will chronicle as we go. About 100 hours in, making about $45 an hour, which is an elite win rate for now on a small sample. My larger sample of about 1,200 hours or so over the past 2 years is about 25 to 30 bucks an hour, also elite win rate. So I must be doing something right. And I believe that we can use my poor play, and maybe yours if you submit a hand, but my poor play to play better. I don't like when the industry goes to 5, 10, 10, 20, all these high stakes, 5,000, 10,000, $25,000 pots, and brags about how awesome they are and talk about concepts that are not necessary for us to beat our games. We don't need to be thinking about solvers and player reads, this guy might think that I have this, and range versus range, and all these terms that you hear out there in the poker vlogs. Instead, we need to be focused on value betting. We need to be focused on maybe reading a player's range and how our hand can target that range. Should we be turning our hand into a bluff? Because you can, even at low stakes. Or should we be just betting for value relentlessly? Should we be avoiding certain spots, or should we be raising to isolate, raising, three betting to isolate? Can we take these probe bets and turn them into bigger bets to bluff somebody out? All these things that are the basics, starting hand ranges, position play, all this stuff is what we're going to hammer in this vlog series as we chronicle my own journey. I don't play perfectly. Brad Owen doesn't play perfectly. PokerFaceAsh doesn't play perfectly. If you follow those vlogs, we will occasionally throw a hand to what I call the big board and break down one. In fact, why don't we just do that now? Why don't we throw it to the big board and I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Okay, so here we are focused on the big board, and we're going to take a look at a hand that PokerFaceAsh played. Many of you know her, like her vlogs, and follow her, and that's great. I follow her too. That's why she makes my vlog. Let's walk through, listen to how she plays a hand, and let's see if there are any decision points that we might want to discuss along the way.
In this hand, I start my battle with Derek. Derek is one of the amazing TCH Live commentators at TCH Dallas. He is a super nice guy and a very good poker player. So in this one, he raises it up under the gun to $10. I'm in the low jack and look down at pocket tens. I think this hand can go either way. I chose to flat this time. The hijack, cutoff, and button call. So we're going 4 ways to a flop of 10, 7, 6 rainbow.
Okay, so pre-flop, she decides not to 3-bet pocket tens, which is fine. She's up against an under-the-gun raiser. She feels that that range is a little bit tighter. It's a respected player, a tougher player, and she decides to flat. There's a secret nuance to this that I think bears repeating as well, or bears pointing out, and that is when you are in early position as well and you flat that raise instead of 3-bet to isolate that, you don't want to isolate a shark necessarily, or somebody you have a lot of respect for. Sometimes it's better to just flat that raise and let all of the recreational players in behind you, because they are going to make bigger mistakes post flop than that sharper player will. So you can play that pot out of position, set, hunt it, look for maybe an overpair, but most likely a set of tens, and then build a bigger pot against people that are prone to make bigger mistakes than that upfront pro.
So we flop top set on a pretty dynamic board. Derek checks, and I check, planning to check raise if anyone tries to bet. We have a great hand to do so. It might induce a player to start either bluffing or betting with a worse hand, but unfortunately, it does check around. The turn is.
So on this flop, she checked to check raise. And I think that that's a very sound strategy in her spot. She's got more people in the hand to act after her, so it's more likely somebody is going to bet than if she just led out. She can check raise, get a bigger pot built, and get called by hands that still want to draw something with an 8, a 9, a jack, something like that in it, maybe a 4-5, something along those lines that she allowed into the pot by not 3-betting it, and she can start building a very, very big pot. If 8-9 is in there, they would obviously raise her back and then she could reevaluate. But bottom line is she's checking here to induce somebody to start building a pot. She gets a little bit unlucky in that it checks around. Now she has to reevaluate on this turn card of a queen.
And so this is a pretty dynamic card as it brings in a flush draw and a lot more straight draw possibilities. Now it checks to me. This time we're going to bet a little bit on the bigger side to deny equity and get value for our set. And now any queen X combination is going to have to call us, so I bet $45. The gentleman to my left calls and Derek calls, so we head 3 ways to our river card, which is
now on this turn she reevaluates and says it's time to start building a pot. Let's lead out and let's lead big. There's a lot of diamonds out there. There's a queen out there. There's maybe a sticky 10 that didn't bet the flop for whatever reason, maybe from our under the gun friend, and would call a large bet. So let's build a pot. Let's build a big pot. We have a huge hand here worth taking to the felt if need be. Let's see if we can't get something going. She gets called in 2 spots, and that's a very, very good sign because now rolling into this river, we didn't get raised. So 8-9 is probably gone, right? I would think even 2-pair. I would think that a lot of other stuff, queen 10, I don't think those are in there either. They would have raised our lead. So we can throw those out of the range and we can start looking for things like, flush cards and 1-card straight draw type situations before we have to really slow down. We probably have the best hand here. Let's see what the river brings.
It doesn't change a whole lot. They check it over to me, and while I am losing to some hands, it's very unlikely given the action, so I'm definitely going to go for value as we have middle sets. I bet $100, and sadly, they both fold, but we do scoop a nice.
Okay, I think that the mistake in this hand, not saying the overall hand is poorly played, I think that the hand is played, pretty standard, and I think that most people tend to think, okay, I'll go for value about half pot, or even a third of the pot. She goes very, very small here into the 188 with a $100 bet. I would have gone a lot larger. Why? Because I'm targeting that queen. I don't need to bet $50 to get diamonds, missed diamonds to fold. I don't need to bet $50 to get pocket 8s or pocket 9s to call because they might fold anyway. The only thing that I'm really going to get called by here with any sizable bet is ace 10, king 10 that maybe doesn't believe me, or a queen. I think that 4-5 would have burned out on the it might have been there on the turn. It would raise us now and let us know. And I think 8-9 would have raised us on the turn bet and let us know. I think we have the best hand here the overwhelming majority of the time, and I think that we should be targeting hands like that queen. Therefore, what would I, if I was trying to bluff this hand, what would I bet to get that queen to fold? I don't think there is an amount. I think that I could overbet the pot 225, 250, something like that, and that queen probably still calls. I think that's the largest portion of the range we should be targeting. I think Ash left a little bit of money on the table here. But that said, she didn't play the hand bad. I just think she could have. Now, they both folded as well, so it is what it is. We weren't going to get called anyway, so I think we could have gone bigger and targeted that queen. That's where I think we can benefit from watching these vlogs together and discussing things. If you have a comment and you think that I'm an idiot and she played it way better, or that my reasoning makes no sense, put it in the comments down below and let's continue discussing this hand. Back to the studio. Now that you've seen that example, let me show you another way that I might show you how I play poorly, and you can probably learn and benefit from that as well. I've got a mini whiteboard. I'm not allowed to film in my local card room. Okay, so that becomes problematic. I can't do a lot of the fancy graphics that you see on the vlogs, so we'll share some of those. But when I need to go into my own lab or my own whiteboard, I can do this, and I can break down a hand history for you with my notes that I take in my phone at the table and show you how to use those abbreviations yourself. The easiest way to go about this is to put the cards down here on the bottom of the whiteboard for you so you can follow along, right? I had Jack 9 offsuit. The board came 10, 5, Queen, 2 spades, 1 heart. So, how did the action start? Well, the mid position player limped. Hero, H, was in the hijack. If you know the positions around the table, right? Dealer button, cutoff, hijack, low jack, mid position, early position, or under the gun +1, big blind, small blind. Those are the positions. Those are the abbreviations. H is hijack. Raise, lowercase r, to 12. The cutoff, 3 bets, 3 exclamation point, or 3B, or 3 bet to 25. The limper folds and hero calls. Hero is always me, or if I was telling it from your perspective, you, right? V can be villain. Sometimes we'll include a player read, like in this particular hand. The cutoff was actually a tighter, older gentleman that plays very, very fit or fold post flop and is not 3-betting light, even in position. He's not isolating me. He has a hand. The problem there is we called with Jack 9 offsuit, and we called that 3-bet. That's a problem. I should have put that in here. Actually, I should have written down that I had Jack 9 offsuit. That's a mistake. I'll correct that going forward. But the bottom line is that's probably poorly played. Unless was pointed out to me on Twitter that if you go into their range, what 3-betting range would this older, tighter player be using? Probably queens plus, maybe jacks, probably not pocket tens, maybe some ace king suited, maybe not ace queen suited, probably not ace queen offsuit, right? A very, very tight range. Aces, kings, queens, ace king, stuff like that. Against that range, Jack 9 has about 20 to 25% equity in that hand. So getting a price of 3 to 1 or 4 to 1 on a call, $12 call into what would be a $50 pot, the price is right. But we have to be able to play the hand well post flop. Let's see how we did. $50 flop, 10 spades, 5 of hearts, queen of spades. Hero checks. You could write CHK. You could put an X, whatever you want to do. Cutoff bets 35. Kind of in flow. Hero checks in flow, but hero flopped open-ended, right? Hero's ready. Hero is ready. Cutoff to 35. Hero check raise C/R or X/R. AI all in or CRAI for 160, and the cutoff folds. So yeah, we won the hand. You could argue that we played it maybe a little bit poorly pre-flop. The flop maybe bailed us out. Question is, what happens calling Jack 9 offsuit when we flop 9-6 deuce and he bets into us? We've got shit kicker. How do we play that hand? Do we overplay it and check raise and try and get him off of pocket queens? Probably not. Do we call along and get value owned by pocket queens? Probably not. That's the tough part. The open ender's fine. We can check raise our sets, our overpairs. We can check raise a lot of hands here, all of our big draws. Had we been suited and flopped the flush draw? Yeah, absolutely, to balance out those hands. These are the fundamentals that we do want to use. I just think that the poorly played aspect of this hand is calling that flop or that pre-flop 3-bet into an older player that probably, even if he's raising or c-betting 35 into 50, we're getting what, 35 into about 85, about 3 to 1 on our money. That's about 30 to 35% equity in that hand, and that's fine. When we have 8 outs, if you don't know what those are, we'll talk about it, but we have 8 cards that can come to help us make our straight, right? If we have 8 outs twice, that's about a 32, 33% chance that that's going to happen for us. Therefore, it's probably a break-even play. And any fold equity that we have with that overbet, if we can get him off of ace king, if he decided to take a swing with ace king and follow through on a c-bet, and we bump him off of that, or he has, I don't know what he might have otherwise, pocket jacks, maybe. I don't think he would have bet that, but had he had it, and we can bump him off of any of those hands, then that fold equity that we also have added on top of the 32, 33% pure equity that we have in the hand makes this hand more and more and more profitable played this way on the flop. Again, the poorly played part is the pre-flop call. And I think that's a good way going forward to show you various ways to play these poker hands that I find have decision points in them. I can bring them to you. We can go to the lab. We can go to the big board. We can go various directions. We can talk in the comments. And most importantly, we can dive into my poker Discord through DFS Army and the Sharp app. And we can discuss a lot more in depth there. And maybe one of your hands starts to make these logs as well. Because again, it isn't about tearing you down. It's about using our bad play to learn and build ourselves up. If you like the premise and if you like the idea of a vlog like this, you got to let me know. You got to like, you got to subscribe, you got to put a comment in there. And if you think that I'm just full of it and an idiot and a dork, that's okay too. Put that in there. I will gladly take all of the interaction that you give me for the algorithm to push me forward to the people that I'm looking forward to working with. I hope you're one of them, and we'll see you next time.